Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Lou's Takes. You know me, of course, but we have a very special guest from host of DLLS, Jeff Cavanaugh. How you doing?
I don't know what to do with my hand.
Hello, it's good to be here. What's up? What's happening? Hello.
A lot of things going on in our Cowboys sphere. We care about it so much, but it's such, it's depressing. It's good. It's all of the above. We got Dante Fowler. Let's start. There. How do you feel about the free agency so far?
Two things. First of all,
I want me some glory hole.
do you have a Roadcaster?
No, I do not. Yeah,
you
I know.
got to get some quick fire buttons because I just like to. Because then I would just say, well, here's what in free agency, what I always wonder is it the hot dog or is it the bun?
This is a hot dog bun.
I think it's a hot dog.
So I like that they're actually active and that they're signing a bunch of people, which they kind of had to, just because when you go on a bad run of drafting and you take an off season off and you don't trade a bunch, like there's just too many holes to not do that. But a bunch of the individual things I don't love.
Yeah.
I don't love how in love they are with former first round picks. And I don't remember who sent the original tweet, but I do think it's really funny. And I'm going to get it wrong. But it was like, anytime you see former first rounder, just know that means some sort of booty juice. You wouldn't say former first rounder about a good player. Nobody's going to say former first round pick, CeeDee Lamb. You're saying it to try to remind people that once upon a time somebody thought they would be good. It's like, I don't love their obsession with that. I am a big supporter of filling in your depth chart so that you can draft clean. And I will give them credit for they're almost there. They're about there in terms of being able to do that. But I look at it and I'm like, how many of these guys made you better? You filled your depth chart. How many of them make you better?
Are they because to the fans that don't know the everyday like us, we're in tune with this team. Are they so afraid of the multi-year contract?
I think they are obsessed with viewing themselves as business people. Like, they love being number one on the Forbes list. They love that their games are the most watched, and they love turning a profit. I think they really do run their team kind of on a cash budget each year.
Yes.
And the amount that they want to lay out. And when you sign a bunch of multi-year contracts, those come with signing bonuses. That's cash you're paying now.
Right.
And I also think that they are very steadfast in their beliefs that free agency, you pay a great price for a good player, and they don't like the value of it. And my thing is, it's just, how bad are you trying to win a Super Bowl? Because if that's the ultimate goal, then I don't remember how long ago it was, but I'm old enough that I was there. When they signed Brandon Carter for $50 million or whatever, they think of that as a cautionary tale. I think of that as, that was a good signing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You paid great corner money for a good starting corner, and he was here for years and was a good starting corner. Now, you probably should have helped him in the game against Detroit. He yelled at the sideline, "Could you please effing help me? Don't let Megatron go for $350 on a guy." But they view that as a bad deal.
Mm-hmm.
They would view that as you got what you paid for, and you get what you pay for when you sign bottom of the barrel too. You get guys who shouldn't be playing in the NFL, and they view that as, that's right, we got what we paid for. And it's just like, oh, I want you to win the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah, I don't know how to explain it to all of Cowboy Nation. I feel like they listen to us, Jeff. Whether you what people like it or not, I feel like. But the thing is, we have too many isolated voices. But when we do come together and have a solid idea, I feel like change does happen. Like it actually, and we'll see it live. But I think if you can tell a fan that's very casual, just watch the football on Sundays and says we're complaining, if you can tone it down, or not tone it down, if you can narrow it down to one problem with the Joneses, if they change, you will see that it will be a trickle chain effect.
The hard part about it is, whatever my answer is, I don't know if the Joneses would view it as a win. The Joneses, like, they do believe in the way that they're trying to win.
Mm.
They're wrong. But they really believe that the way that they do things is the best way to stay competitive year in and year out. And hopefully things just fall your way in one of those years. And all of the things that I'm critical of them about are a little bit fluid, because it's not like they are totally averse to long-term contracts. They're not totally averse to manipulating the salary cap and moving people's money around. I remember, was it 2 or 3 years ago, when they restructured everybody And like if you're just a standard, I watch football, like all restructure means is that everybody counts a certain amount each year. You have so many dollars to spend, and you're just going to take a chunk of their money and say, we'll account for it later. You count less now. It doesn't change how much money they actually get. You're just moving when it counts. And a couple of years ago was their real all in. Like they restructured Michael Gallup, who was already limping around. And was that
the $90 million year when we had 90 million cap space?
Yeah, so like when they moved his money and Terrence Steele's money, and they moved like guys that you're like, man, I don't think those guys aren't going to be on the team next year. They're setting themselves up to eat a bunch of money next year. Right. So like they have done aggressive-ish team building, but now the biggest things about the way that the Cowboys do business is they are very much averse to free agency. Like they are overly reliant on whoever we draft. We're going to count on them for too long. Even if it looks like it's not going to work out, we'll just assume that'll be fine. And by next year, surely he's a first-round pick. He'll be great. They are too reliant on being homegrown and drafting and developing their guys and not writing big checks to outside free agents. And they're just too reliant on it. And they're probably too averse to trading because it goes to the same thing. They view themselves as these sort of business people. And Jerry said it over and over. And now they have been making trades. And some of them like, but hey, at least they're trying.
Exactly.
Jerry doesn't want to call people for a trade because he views that as they will see me as weak. I'm calling you, which means you can take advantage of me. That's the way they view it. And so they view it as they're losing a business deal if they call somebody to make a trade, or if they have to have the highest bid on a free agent that, oh, well, this guy's getting over on us. And it's just, I just, their goals and our goals are not the exact same. And I guess from the big picture perspective, why would they be? Jerry Jones is a business owner. He is incredible at it. We want him to run this thing as the most important thing is being the GM and trying to win the Super Bowl. He is running this thing as I'm the best business owner ever. He does great at it. Makes a bunch of money for everybody else.
So I get the Cowboys are draft and develop, but we do this to an extreme.
Yeah.
An extreme. And this is where my frustrations come out because sometimes we'll draft and develop and we won't let anything get in the way of that. And we will purposely, ignore prosperity in a certain position in order to fill in a lie. Like we will balloon a lie. So, there's people, that they still don't believe me. Example I bring of this is during Dan Quinn's era, right? The whole narrative was Dan Quinn doesn't like linebackers, but we tried to bring in one of his old guys that he eventually got in Washington, Bobby Wagner. But something went awry. Something happened during the conversations. And next thing you know, we're seeing Steven, and Steven says like, hey, at the end of the day, he will get in the way of a guy like LVE. I feel like that is like the center of the cancer of the purpose, crabs in a barrel mentality that we have here in Dallas. Because I feel like if they just talk, like if they participate one year in free agency, 1 year, I feel like it will validate their draft and develop strategy. Talk to me.
I think so. Lou, what you just did was in detail, genius explanation of their draft and develop. Because here's what I would ask you about it. Do you think there's any chance that the Cowboys are going to pick a guy with their first round pick, best player available, and he's a left tackle? Think they would pick him?
Oh, I'm pushing it right now. There's a big war going on about trenches versus weapons. I'm not pushing tackle. I'm pushing the guard. Right. But I am pushing BPA. We're too high of a draft pick. We need to draft BPA. And Jeff, that is the main. That is. And
I don't think they would. Is my point.
Exactly.
Because they just used a first round pick on a left tackle.
Exactly.
They are in the trenches with that dude. They'll ignore the fact that they couldn't put him on the field because he couldn't be nearly as good as Chuma Edoga. But through this offseason, because they decided he was worth a first round pick, they're not writing that off.
They're not.
He's going to be your left tackle this year.
He's definitely. They're going to ride it out.
And if not, it'll be because they signed somebody for $4 million, and he's such a disaster that they're just going to put a jobber veteran out there. Like they will not be aggressive in admitting that someone's not ready to help them. not somebody that they drafted highly. And I think that is the evidence of what they do wrong the most. I'm not telling you that that Tyler Guyton could never play good football if I draft a guy who is a better left tackle than him. I'm telling you that that's a premium position that we weren't good at last year, and I need to be good at it right now because I want to win the Super Bowl. So Guyton, when we get to camp, if you're better than that dude, he'll move. And if you're not, let's see if you can take Steele's job. Let's see if you can take the right guard job. But they will not, just like you were saying, with linebacker and LVE, like they are not here to get better no matter what.
Do you think they view the draft as free agency?
Basically, which is, but the wild part about that this time is after last year ended, what drives me nuts is they'll say the right words every once in a while, and then a month later they forgot that they learned that lesson. Like Jerry said when the season ended, okay, in hindsight, we got way out over our skis assuming that so many rookies could step in and help them.
I don't know how.
And now they're going to do it again right after he said, whoops. And they're gonna do it again.
That Jeff is wild. I don't think people understand it. Like,
gonna do it again.
We took a notorious right tackle who wasn't playing right tackle for long. He did convert at Oklahoma, and we said, hey, come be left tackle of the Dallas Cowboys. Come protect our franchise quarterback. And then, I mean, luckily this one worked out. We took a guard and said, hey, learn center over the summer and come protect our quarterback.
I don't hate that though, because I think that's fairly common. It's kind of like everybody is a tackle if they're amazing. And then if your arms aren't long enough or your feet don't move good enough, you move into guard. Now, once you've moved into guard, if your arms still aren't long enough or you're not quite strong enough and you're super mobile or you're a little bit lighter, we move you even further to center, where we got people on both sides of you to protect you. And so, like, I don't hate that. There'll be 3 guys drafted in the top 100 this year that played tackle or guard that are going to be centers. So that one's not wild to me. It's just a matter of who is the player. Like Guyton, my scouting report said when they picked him, like, I hope you don't think that you're going to play him as a rookie. Like, he's a massive guy that's a good athlete that could develop into an NFL starter. And it was him and the BYU kid, Kingsley Sumam, something or other. And those were the 2 guys that I was like, okay, the NFL's talking about them as like top 50 picks. And I'm like, I hope you're not trying to play him as a rookie. And guess which 2 got benched as rookies? That's them. Like, it was on tape for you. The guy's not ready. And I hope he's ready this year. And that's the thing. What makes it hard is my frustration with how they do these things leads to broadcasting that is done, especially in this offseason, in like a negative way. And I don't like that. I don't want to do that. I want to do segments about what to be excited about position groups, and just talk about football. But as they're signing the guys, when you're like, oh, they're doing that again. Oh, they're doing, it's like the broadcasting is negative. And I don't mean that. I want the Cowboys to win every game.
I think negativity is good sometimes, though, Jeff. You got to, because I mean, we feed the monster, of course, but I can't allow, when something is this egregious. Yeah. It's some of the stuff that they do. I'm gonna be honest. I think I don't know what's the opposite of tampering. Like, because they're purposely trying to cap our season. Because honestly, they know what areas to improve upon, but they are so stuck in their frugality ways that they would choose to purposely ignore this. And I say that the main problem with the Cowboys is pride. I think it's pride. Pride, in the Bible, it says pride cometh before the fall. But because I can tie it all the way back to this. We don't sign our stars early. The way we don't do that. We don't go to them first because we give in. But
you can't, because if you call them, now they have the power. This is Jerry's brain. If I call you because I want to get you signed early, the fact that I approached you means you've got me. And now I am weak. That's what he thinks.
I view that as a battle. You may lose the battle because the war is going on this offseason. Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, that's the war. You ballooned up. And I know you don't like paying all that money. So if you went to them just earlier, or dealing with free agents know their worth. If anybody knows their worth, like when they called Cooper Kupp said, oh, he just signed, $14 million? Hang up.
When did Dak Prescott new contract? When did he sign it? He signed it September of 2024. Okay. So right before the season starts, the fact that guys who are no doubt better than him, and like I'm a big Dak guy, so nobody yell at me for saying that there's guys that are no doubt better than him, right? Josh Allen signs a contract the following offseason and is still getting less than Dak. And some people are gonna be like, that's because Dak is selfish or whatever. No, it's because his team went to him like, let's just get this nailed out and get it way out there, and it'll help us move it all around and we can do whatever. And they looked at Dak like, I don't know if you're good enough. And he looked at them and went, okay, like, I'm not in a hurry. You don't have to, like, I know how this works. I'm a good NFL quarterback. Let me get to the brink of free agency and see what you have to do for me. And so, like, it's not Dak's fault that even today nobody is topping his number. It's Jerry's fault. Sign him 2 years prior. Micah Parsons, you should have signed him last offseason. But in this offseason, don't let Max Crosby beat you to the market and then Myles Garrett destroy that number. And like, Micah's not signing for less than Myles Garrett. When he said, I don't need 40, like, he was just making words because the market was 35. Now it's like, I don't need 40. Yes, he does.
Of course, he has an obligation.
Yeah, his agent's not taking less than the market.
Exactly.
No way. If he was requoted, he would say today, I don't need 45. Like, what he's saying is, I don't have to destroy the market. But you keep letting new markets show up. Silly geek.
I just, when I argue with my subscribers sometimes about the money, they're like, oh, he's taking this money. Like, I direct him to one of your videos that you did over the cap, because that was perfect. I mean, people just see, we need to start calling out the mainstream media like ESPN when they just only report the top number. I wish they would not embellish the truth.
Well, what they do is they literally copy and paste. You can see it because when two insiders send out the exact same thing, it was Schefter and Pelissero, and Schefter beat Pelissero with the exact same wording, exact same everything. He beat him to the tweet by like 10 seconds because Pelissero put in a football emoji or like the Vikings emoji or something. They're taking the text from the agent who is going to portray it in the way that looks the best for the player, and they're hitting paste. That's journalism, because they're pasting what an agent sends them.
So I mean, like you said, I think the reason why we have been struggling on these drafts, like you said, I feel like we put pressure on our scouting department, and we go in. I say we have sugar eye. Like I'm trying to, and I'm getting ready to argue with some guys. You know, it's trenches versus weapons in the inner community, in the content creator space. And we're just trying to, you know, I understand we need more weapons for CD. We need a lot. We need everything.
Should have signed one today, but you let somebody else sign him.
Exactly.
$15 million for Cooper Kupp that's a fine number.
It's
good. Free agent wide receivers are getting 25 to 30 million. And because he's injury prone and kind of on the back end, like 15, that's very fair, especially if you have nothing after your number.
Go get Keenan Allen. I mean, we need something. I need a splash. But to this draft, I chalk up our, you know, L's for the draft to putting too much pressure going into the draft. And we don't draft, because if you think about it, everyone's saying we need a weapon. I think it's a red flag. I think that's how you easily draft bust. It's how you easily draft bust. If you think about it, Jeff, all of our Cowboys Nation, all your jerseys in your closet, we didn't need any of them. We didn't need Dak. We didn't need CD. We didn't need Micah. We didn't need any of them. We let the draft play out, and we let, as Vosh say, you know, teams suck at drafting.
Let teams suck at drafting.
Right.
The Eagles and the Ravens are the two best at this. They let everyone else suck at drafting. And when they're on the clock, they go, what gift have you given us? Oh, Jalen Carter made it. Oh, Nolan Smith made it. Like, the Eagles didn't need a D tackle when they took Jalen Carter. They didn't need a pass rusher or an edge guy when they took Nolan Smith. They let it happen, and especially if it's a premium position, they're just like, okay, thanks, league. And if that makes our depth chart weird, cool, we'll go trade a guy. So you called it the sugar booty draft?
Sugar eye.
Yeah, I call it drafting horny. Like, you can't draft horny.
You can't go in. You can't. You miss every time.
They picked Taco because they knew they were picking a defensive end.
And who went the very next pick?
TJ Watt. They should pick, but we knew that they wouldn't because Rod Marinelli didn't see him put his hand on the ground. But yeah, like when you draft horny, you get Taco. When you go in and you announce to the world, like, our primary thing we're going to do this offseason is try to stop the run, then you just draft a nose tackle at the end of the first round and you get Mozzie. When you know that you've decided it's time to replace Tyron Smith no matter what, then you take Guyton at the end of the first round. When you just let it come to you, get CD and Micah. I have to go look at all of the other names, but like, pick Trayvon Diggs when he's the best available in the second round. When you just pick the best player, you got a good shot at this thing.
So, two-sided question. This may be one of the last questions. Are you seeing it play out again? And
Yes.
How if like how to avoid it? What is your picks to let them know that they're not doing this again? Like, what is the let the draft play out till you pick?
Gosh, this is the weirdest draft of all time. So at 12, I literally couldn't tell you until they're on the clock because I have no idea the order these guys are going to go in. But I would think at 12, the safest, I think that's the best player. There's a good chance it's going to be an offensive lineman. Like I think Matt Campbell or Kelvin Banks. There's a good chance that's the best player available.
I like Booker.
Or Tyler Booker at Alabama. And I do think it's a meat and potatoes draft anyway, so I wouldn't feel bad about taking a guard or taking I could take Malachi Starks at 12. I could take a safety.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people are out on some of the guys that were considered premier coming into the year. And then
it's funny. This draft was it's shaking up a lot.
Yeah, like Will Jones, Starks, guys.
Isaiah Bond, Golden.
I do think they're setting themselves up at running back.
To take one or not take one?
The guys that they've signed, I guess in some people's mind, you'd be like, no, we can go play right now. And I'm like, no, you have to. It's weird to say there's a washed up 24-year-old and a washed up 27-year-old, but that's what they signed. And I think they are hellbent that running back is going to be at least one of their first 3 picks and a decent chance that it's one of their first 2.
I think they're giving away what type of running back they want. I think they obviously want the bigger gap scheme downhill runner. They've given that away because all of the free agents have been. I mean, Javonte Williams is not undersized, but he doesn't give away the imposing.
Yeah, and I hope that at running back they don't care. Like I don't care if you're 205 or 225. I would like for you to be able to catch and run your ass off. Right. And if you can block, that's great. But I don't care about blocking. You're running back. I think they're setting themselves up at running back. They're probably setting themselves up. The defensive tackle is one of their first 3 picks. Offensive line, I don't know because they're going to pretend they have a left tackle. They do have a left guard. Offensive line could be one of their first 3 picks because you signed a short-term stopgap to compete with Hoffman.
Right.
They filled the depth chart, but they didn't make any of those groups better.
My best, depiction of it, like it's a Sunday, a banana split. You got your bananas. That's Dak, CD. This free agency was just a little bit of cream. Nothing is a cherry on top. I think that's missing in any position. I just need a cherry on top. I think Dre Greenlaw. It's a nice cherry on top, for your linebacker core.
I mean, it's the linebackers that they brought in. I actually like Sanborn better than Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray hasn't again.
I like this one. I think he has some upside. I think Flus is a guru. I really do trust him, and it's a nice young core for him to work with.
Yeah, I just don't like the guys that once a guy has played NFL football for at least 2 years. I don't need 3, and I definitely don't need 5. When you trade for a guy, and I'm talking Kenneth Murray here, a half-ass kind of sort of Boomer Sooner fan. I want him to be good, and I want the Cowboys to win.
Okay.
But when it's been 5 years and you're going to trade for a guy and he's going to count $7 million, he's going to be your most expensive linebacker on the roster. And the team that traded him to you was like, can I cuss one time?
Oh, you good.
The team who traded him to you is like, holy shit, somebody took him. I'm not going to be hopeful that he's going to be a good player for you. It's been 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And because of where he was drafted, he got to start for 5 years running into his teammates and stuff. And so if you want to stop the run, Kenneth Murray might stop your other linebacker from stopping the run. You might just run into him a lot.
Listen, we just gotta hope that we are undervalued. We're not undervalued. We're not happy with these signings, but hopefully they've done their homework. Maybe they done seen an article. Maybe he didn't fit in with this. A lot of these guys, believe it or not, they just got caught in coaching changes. Philosophy changes.
Sure.
So hopefully,
for sure,
we did our homework and we caught something like that.
Ideally, Kyer Elam could be a borderline starter for you because you're going to run a bunch of cover 3 and you're like, look, big, tall, I'm asking you to play a deep third. Maybe you get a chance there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, things like that you're hoping will work out. I just don't want to bank on they're banking on so much development right now. You're banking on Maris Leafau as a player. You are banking on Kalen Carson can play NFL football. You are banking on Smith is an awesome run defender. You are banking on Sam Williams or Marshawn Nealand is a quality starter. There's just
so many things.
Left tackle. You are banking. And you are banking that at right guard, the guy who was bad for the Dolphins last year, or Brock Hoffman can hold it. That it's so optimistic and it scares me.
See this, and this is I'm gonna end it off this. I think this is what's wrong with the Cowboys. We deprive our guys from competition.
Mhm.
You know, and Vaj talked about this yesterday. Like when the Eagles roster build, they build from the top and try to push people down.
Yeah.
If they could tomorrow find a receiver better than AJ Brown, best believe they would. And they'll try to push him out and say, hey, AJ, you want to play? Claw for your position. Like Brandon Graham was fighting for his life for all these years, you know?
And they will also, when they do that, when they're wrong, they'll eat it immediately. They'll be like, whoops, wrong. Who was the edge guy this year that they brought in? And it was just like, not really. Bench.
From the
Get rid of
Jets. Yeah.
Like they'll bring in a guy, and if they were wrong, the end.
Bradbury was on the inactive roster making $30 million.
Right.
We would never do something like that, you know?
Don't care. They'll write it off and they'll move on to the next one. They which running back was it that they drafted? And they were good at running back, but it was the best player on their board. And so they immediately draft a guy, and then they pick up the phone and they're like, we got too many. Call somebody who needs a running back and trade. I think it was Miles Sanders that got traded at that point to Carolina. Like they are going to pick the best guys, add the best guys. And if that means the room got too full, we're going to call you and we're going to send you the one that just got bumped. Like, they're just team. We shouldn't say that like it's shocking. It's not supposed to be shocking to do a good job building your team. It should be the 32 best
bare
people
minimum
on earth at this.
It's the bare minimum. I think
But we got it. He's 82, you know? 82.
Jesus Christ. Hey man, I appreciate you, Jeff. If you make sure to like and subscribe, make sure I didn't even do that. Look, I'm messing up, Lou. Make sure to subscribe to Jeff Cavanaugh's channel. He's growing. Make sure to subscribe to DLLS. I'm messing up my words.
It's
Jesus Christ.
youtube.com/@_sports.
Every 11 a.m. at Central Standard Time. Join the hashtags. We got 877 pay Micah now because they should have paid Micah yesterday. We're trying to get Keenan Allen to Dallas to get some type of weapons to give us some type of hope. Continue to be solution-oriented, Cowboys fans. Hopefully this did, educate you, made you more aware, made you a smarter fan so we can voice our desires. Voice our desires because your voice does matter. Any last words, Jeff?
Fire Nico.
Yesterday, man. Until next
Remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through, so be cool to everybody.